Hello and a warm welcome back to the When Dirt Cast, your podcast about all things concerning the Metaverse Football League. We're your hosts, Calvin, Adrian, and Jimbo, and together we're going to discuss latest MFL updates, transfers, developments, all the grand stuff over the last 7 days or so. One important note, very important note, none of what we chat about is financial advice, not at all. Do your own scouting or hire a director of Metaverse Football. Calvin, my man, how you doing? How you been?
Doing great. I think it's been a crazy MFL week for everyone. I think I said this on the stream to you, like the fun stream we had last Thursday, that It feels like the topic we're going to talk about, the European Championships 24, was like announced 1 week or 2 weeks ago, but it's like 5 days ago. So it's like a roller coaster ride this week with the big hype, the Euro 24, the drop, the stream, the campaigns, the Twitter activity. It's been crazy, so it'll be fun to talk about it right now.
Yeah, it almost sort of set the topic of the episode set itself up when they announced it this week.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, well, there's nothing else to talk about, really, is there? There's nothing. We want to talk about the Euro 24. So if you're not guessed already by the title and by the fact we're talking about it already, we will be discussing later on the Euro 24 with an MFL. And maybe a little predictions for the real one as well. Spice it up and do the two as well. But obviously, as you mentioned, Cav, we had the stream on Thursday. For some reason, when the pack drop was announced on Tuesday, and almost, I guess yourself and captains were sort of privy a couple of days before, and this was going to happen. But I almost forgot that we'd probably be asked to stream it. I was like, there's a pack drop. Chance I need to be streamed. And they said, do you fancy streaming? I was like, yeah, sure. But why did I not think about this in the first place? But I think it was a really good stream. As usual, got some really good numbers, great quiz. To all the people who won things, I've given, or hopefully this will be done by now, but over the weekend I gave all the listing of the users and the points allocation to MFL. So hopefully beginning of this week or already their points have been distributed.
Yes, and also Brandon's giveaway we finalized.
Of course, yes. A massive thank you to Brandon once again for his standard pack giveaway, which we drew or revealed the winner just before the stream on Thursday, and that went to Fryman, which is great. I messaged Brandon and said, Fryman won. Do you guys want to get in contact and organise that? And he messaged me and said within about a minute of him receiving the pack, Fryman just ripped it straight away. I think he got no upgrades, unfortunately, but he was still happy with his contents. And it's always good good to win something if you're a user, but equally a massive thanks and great for Brandon in the first place for putting up his own money for a pack to be given away, which is really generous.
Yes. Yeah, and also speaking about ripping packs, I think this drop was the most dramatic ever with these higher stakes, different odds kind of. It was like the most intense, I think, with the ripping.
Most definitely.
Yeah. So there were higher highs and lower lows, I think, for some.
Cool. Getting a bit financial there, higher highs, lower lows. But
yeah.
God, we'll reverse it this time. Weekly updates. Calvert, how's your week been?
How's your week been? No, I think pretty steady. All my teams are doing well, although they were a bit unfortunate in the cup. Only 3 out of 7 are playing tonight when we record in the next round. That could have been a bit better, but I'm really happy with Casablanca Corsairs, Black Sea FC, my biggest teams. They're like top 3, top 4. They're still like Black Sea can still even win the title. They're in the title race, although it's with LA Smoke. Sturge's very strong team. But most of them they're very competitive. They keep winning. I think 6 out of 7 are top 5 or so, like mid-table or higher. So I'm really happy with how it goes. And the key has been again consistency, and I think also don't do too crazy things tactically. I think if you just stick to a rather balanced or almost balanced with 1 or 2 touches, I think that's a pretty safe strategy that gets you like decent results based what your squad's worth. Tactical advice, quick, but
tactical advice. Yeah, we can offer that. We can offer that. We can offer tactical advice. So, I'm glad to hear you've had a good week. I'll say my piece now. So this week has been pretty turgid from a Jimbo point of view. If you hold England shares, cover your ears now and put the volume down. My second team went 0-6 in the cup, which I'm not sure whether I'm proud about that or I'm devastated about it, which baffles me from the fact we won the league last year and we won the cup 2 seasons before, and then I couldn't even win a single game in the cup this year, which with no upgrade to the squad is the same, near enough, and I was baffled by it. And then Wyverns didn't make it through the cup. I knew both weren't making it through the cup, so I just basically rotated squads. And then both are sitting just mid-table, I think 5th and 6th respectively. I lost a game yesterday for the Wyverns. There was a few people messaging in the Discord yesterday about upsets. And usually I'm not one on the receiving end, but I was hit by an upset yesterday and I was slightly rattled by it.
Also fatigued squad, or
not fatigued, just weak.
Okay.
Like, I know overalls isn't everything, and it's not. But I think my averages were 71 across the board. His averages were like 64. His back four, 49, 47, and then like 71 and 69. Only scored once. He scored in the first 30 seconds and then like right at the end. And I just went, nah, man, not my day. Not my day. Yeah. But tough times never last. Focus is already on the Euros now. And we'll get into that later.
Exactly.
But, I feel like this season for me, and it seems like a lot of other managers as well, the engine's not been too kind to them this year. It's definitely not been kind to me this year. I've not really changed what I've done, but I'm getting worse results. But it could also just be I'm playing against stronger people. But the cup one's the weird one for me. I think every year I've progressed in the cup.
And
this time I've not. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong?
Can be frustrating. So to quote a famous song from the UK elections, 97, like things can only get better, right? For you,
only up for me.
Yeah, I just watched a Crown episode about it, by the way. Okay. That's why I know it.
I was going to say, how do you know quotes from like 1970 politics that's in the UK? Not even I do.
So I'm, as a historian, and fully like in that year. But that's things can only get better. That's the message here. And upsets. Well, I think what we always say about upsets keeps being true. Like one engine is in development, part of the game of football, right? And you can just get incredibly unlucky. Plus,
and the amount of games,
I think for some people there might be a slight upset bias, right? Like you win 3 times, 4 times, then you have that upset, and then you win 3 times after that, and then you think, that one upset is what.
No one likes to lose, and you can win 10 games and you can lose one, like you said. And the people who lose will shout the loudest and the hardest, whereas the winners don't say anything.
Yeah.
So if all you hear is the losers, you'll just think it's everyone losing and upset.
Yeah.
For every upset, there's someone on the other side going, "Get in there, come on, I'm Pep Guardiola." And for other people, the losers, they're crying and doing a Thomas.
I think Duff said it well that when he beats. So I'm with him in this Silver League with Black Sea, his team Volkskrone and LA Smoke, and the 3 of us are like this 3-horse race at the moment. So then I beat him 1-0 with only 1 shot on goal. So the only shot on goal went in, and he had like 4 shots on target, let's say. He had like 4 and nothing went in. So he said, when I beat Sturge like that, I'm a tactical genius, and when I get beaten like that by Black CFC, then it's the engine, right? So you can approach it in 2 ways always. So.
Never the manager's fault if you lose. Never the manager's fault.
Yes. So let's move on to the dev updates. Maybe you also want to do that, like a turnaround, or shall I just?
Go on. Why not? We'll change this around. So, dev updates from Jimbo. Not done these for probably about a month or so. Obviously, the first one being the MFL European Championship, which we're going to touch on later. You've seen the amount of effort and time that's gone into creating that whole interface, the whole process, the whole journey of buying shares to looking at all the different clubs. So they've been working so hard on that. So there's still some work to do to be able to enable national managers to manage their teams. So currently, clubs and tactics use the contracts to work, while national teams will work without these contracts, because I guess you can't just yoink someone's contract. So they're going to have to do a bit of work to see how do you use a player without actually being contracted. Alongside the Euros was the announcement of the packs, so the Euro and the Euro Plus. They introduced some new packs. 3 nationalities arrived: Albania, Georgia, and Slovenia. So additionally, the composition for new starter packs have changed. I can't remember what it is. I think they've lowered maybe the odds or raised the odds. I think it's lowered of getting some of the higher rated players in those starter packs. But on the, even bigger news, Stone Club packs have sold out. They announced last October, so there's now officially no new user club pack, which is huge. Maybe we can touch on that in a second after this. Cadence 1.0 update. This is technical knowledge which goes over at least 99% of the MFL community's head. It's just stuff in the background. It's the code that Flow blockchain runs on. It has updates, and MFL have to ensure that they're matching those updates. They've been doing some work on that. The engine updates, Quinton has been focused on improving player movement on the pitch, adding them the ability to sprint. Interesting. Have we just been playing walking football the whole time? He has also enhanced how players call for the ball. Additionally, we conducted new exploratory research to achieve more consistent match results. That is a very bougie way to say a sentence. Yeah, I like that. Player progression, been in the works for a couple of months now. They've mainly improved our tests and fixed minor issues. We're starting to define more precisely how we'll communicate on this major update. So that's really exciting. It sounds like it's getting towards the end of that development. If they're now considering how they're going to be communicating the update, how are we going to see it? How are we going to read the blog post, basically? Oh, no, not quite that. And finally, match reports. This was sneakily turned on, and I think removed, then officially put back on again during the week. So match reports at the end of matches, where you've at the top, just below the scorecard in the game, you can go to the reports afterwards, and you can now view individual player stats directly on the match page, which is really cool. And also, if you're the manager, you can scroll down right to the bottom and you can view the tactics you use for that match. So if you forgot which tactics you used, or maybe you were drunk, or you were, I was going to say high, but there's some country that's allowed, and you went, oh, what tactics did I use when I beat this team 5-0? You can now go back to the match and have a look. So that's really, really great.
Yes.
Did I do a good job with the dev updates?
Definitely, very good job. A lot of details and well communicated. Definitely.
Thank you very much.
Because maybe a little peek behind the scenes. Sometimes we write it out a bit easier to read. Sometimes we just copy from the Discord and improv how we communicate it. So I can say good improv from Jimbo here to communicate it. Yeah,
it's like improv.
Well, I think there are a couple of very good takeaways here. First of all, I think the big one is player progression is, let's say, almost ready to be communicated. So that seems like, as you said, it's almost done. And then the other ingredient we need to really start the clock, let's say start the time, is only the promotion relegation. I think that's a rather simple thing to do, is just see who starts. Well, I mean, nothing is so simple, but it's like, okay, this team ended top of the league, and now he becomes his other league, and then he ends bottom of the league, so now he goes down. So I think that's much easier than such a complicated matrix of player progression. So with that in mind, we might start building up to season 1 soonish, maybe another 0.7 season, and then I don't know, just speculating. What do you think about that?
I think maybe at least a couple more seasons, because they've often said that we'll get at least a test season with progression turned on for like a dummy run to see how it looks and give us an experience of how that feels to have progression turned on. So at least 2 or 3 more seasons in my eyes before we get to that point. But having player progression eventually being complete in their eyes and being rolled out, when that happens, will be such a major milestone, because it is one of the key hurdles for us to get over before we can even get to the start line almost when it comes to a season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so for sure, couple season beta, I agree with you. There needs to be this beta season. We're now alpha, and then maybe you get there. But there is, let's say there is an end in sight for this potential new checkpoint to reach.
Yeah.
And of course the Stone Club packs that have sold out. That's huge news. That all the clubs. Yeah, there was a point. Probably, well, we remember that the iron, bronze, those packs sold out, right, at one point. And then it took a little bit, I think it took a couple months, or maybe 1 or 2.
I think it took April last year. It took October 2022, April 2023 for the final initial club packs to be sold out. And then this year for Stone, it's been October 2023 to June 2024. It's a bit longer, but they obviously technically the same amount of packs, but more. But you know,
way
I mean.
more clubs.
Yeah. So it's really great to see that they've sold out. And what was interesting, I don't know if you saw Matt's message where he said that they ideally want to have new user club packs always available.
But yeah, I think you can easily add another division, just expand the pyramid again, double the clubs again, to have maybe a lower entry. Well, I would prefer this if it's like also half the price or something, like $40, and then very low entry wooden clubs, or someone called it grass, like grass clubs. That's also a nice one.
I guess if you call it grassroots, where do you go down from there if you need to go down? Like grassroots is the lowest of the soil.
Yeah.
Underground. Like
yeah, or then I don't know. But yeah, why not expand it again? Keep this pyramid structure. Secondary market is still pretty big, and I think there's still stones for 80, like pack price out there. So luckily that entry point has not moved up. I think that's what you want, is to always have a relatively low entry point. Like I made that video, like $80, maximum to play it at most. So to have that entry point or even a bit lower, and then people can join, start playing it, and maybe, invest in bigger clubs or better players. So that's my idea.
Yeah, I think that will always be a nice like line or slogan or sentence to say for MFL, like the price of a football manager game, or if we can keep it around that level as the entry point, I think we'll always be in a good place.
Definitely. Okay, move on. Season updates. Diamond is definitely heating up. Quite some developments, but what I really like is that there's like 4 teams, I would say, still in the title race, only separated by 4 points. So Meta Mercenaries 22, BFC Barcelona 21, Londinium FC 19, and Club Atletico Tango 18. And yeah, there's like 22-18, so only 4 points in between. So that can really go anyway, especially since now we have 10 teams. So there are 7 matches left, 18 in total. So still 7 to play. So loads of things can happen there. Unfortunately for me and Brandon, as SV Berlin Hooligans, we're back at bottom. 8th place. 8 points, 10th place. That things can only get better there too. And then you have like a big group who's like fighting for that kind of best of the rest 5th place, I would say. So OM Legends, Orche, DFC, Biscione Milano, maybe a bit surprising. They're 7th, Basel, and Parque Ibirapuera 9th. What are your observations, thoughts about Diamond?
I think I'm gonna start where you just ended about Dio's Milano side. It feels like each season that team underperforms. I don't know what it is. He's got some ridiculously high-rated players in there. Tyson, Dobbs, Zapata.
Yeah.
He's got well over 12, 13 players over 90 rated. So he's got a lot of the high-rated. I'm just looking at his squad now. 3 92s, 2 93s.
What's going on?
He always has such an odd season, so I thought they'd be doing better than they are doing. We said last week, I said I'll find it surprising if Meta Mercenaries and BFC Barcelona drop out of bottom 2, and it looks like they are. It's only 2 points between 2nd and 3rd, but it looks like that probably trend is going to continue. OM Legends did beat Ballers 2-0 last night, I think it was, which is a bit of a surprise. But yeah, I do like the fact that in the middle. But to be fair, the whole league is still competitive. It's still there's still nothing's set in stone, and we've almost got like a top 4 and a top 2 breakaway. Well, it's not breakaway because only 2 points, but 4th to 5th is 4 points, so we'll call that a breakaway. And then you've literally like a top half or top 3rd, a middle pack, and then you've got the Berlin Hooligans, as you called them, just chilling down towards the bottom a little bit.
Well, we are the Hooligans of Berlin. But anything can happen still. And also the fact that Meta Mercenaries lost 3 times already out of 11 games. That also shows that anyone can beat anyone pretty much. So
I'm also just going to point out again, I said this last week, with the amount of goals that Ronan scored. He scored 41 goals this season, which is nuts compared to the second most goals is 27, and that's fourth. That's big. Well, let's go Tango. So the amount of goals the geezer is scoring.
And goal difference is 27 compared to 8.
Yeah.
So if it comes down to goal difference, Meta has the upper hand by far. So
the goal difference
can be huge later, right?
The goal difference is the same as the second most goal scored by another team, 27. Like this, it's nuts. So this time next week, we'll have some even juicier Diamond League standings to report back on.
It's really a great title race to follow. So we will keep a close eye on that. And I looked quickly in the cup, and it seemed, I think, almost all Diamond Leagues qualified for the next round, except Basel, I think, was a bit unlucky, and Berlin also in the cup, not very lucky. So to be continued. Now I'll warm my voice. Well, my voice is already pretty warm, to shout out some new managers. We again had quite a nice intake. And I also have a pretty good new user of the week to shout out. So let's start. So the new managers are Matt, Hey, Monsieur, Boom, Dooms, Sims87, Vince, Lepic SC, Realux, Tom, D Nesbit, Chiki the Original, James Ale08, Fullbacks, Le Poulain, Hugo D, and both of those two guys went straight for an Iron Club. Well, maybe because Stone is sold out, then it's more attractive to go to the marketplace and pick up an Iron Club. Sterling Archer, who's based in the Philippines, also nice to see more presence in Asian countries. Zerksen, Miso, Musashi, Oculus Worldo, Oronzo Kana, Los Guerreros, Les Chanty. And new user is Lighten, who bought Bronze Geneva Club for 195. So that's a pretty nice way to start your MFL career with that club purchase. Then about some active managers. Some people who've been like bulk buying. So when I go through SalesBot, I keep seeing their names. For example, Alex Flus, Teotinho, Simu, who had, I'll introduce a new term, some common splashes. So he's been buying like 17, 16, 18-year-old common players for around $20 each. So that's like quite an investment in young talent. So he has high hopes for player progression. Alexis, I also saw him buying some comments, and also shout out to Alexis for some new updates to his platform, MFL Assistant.
Yeah, they've been huge as well.
Loads of update. Maybe we should also retweet those. I don't know if we're retweeting those.
I think I've been doing it on both accounts.
Okay,
yeah, for those of you who don't know, his MFL Assistant is a really good website for essentially looking at statistics regarding seasons or clubs and marketplace data. So you can do your own stats, which I do sometimes, like a dashboard with static downloads of the air tables, but it's obviously connected to the API or something along those lines, and producing some really great updates. So you can now see like the rate of established clubs, how much is being sold per like day, hour, week on the marketplace. Some really interesting stats to go look at. So definitely worth looking at that website. But also, if you want to know more about Alexis, I can't remember the episode number off the top of my head. It might be 15 or 14. We interviewed Alexis and he was discussing this. So it's great to see the progression. Yeah, it was almost like in its infancy, and then for a couple of months there wasn't many updates. It's obviously working hard in the background, and now that's all coming into fruition. So if you've not checked out the website, it's definitely a go-to for looking at stats about the marketplace.
Exactly. So do check that out. Let me finish the active manager section. So uncommon rare players, like which people bought some interesting ones or a lot. Is Janma Holdem, Salsinho, two kind of relatively new guys. I saw them buying loads of players. Also Make Fink and Tingus Pingus. They bought quite some rare players, some interesting rare players. Jamie had a rare splash. He bought a 19-year-old 83 striker for 430. And Sandman bought a 79 player, 17-year-old for 450. So investment, some splashes on young rare players. Legendaries, there were no Lego sales this week. So we've seen loads of weeks with Legos, but this week none. And clubs, well, we saw a lot of Stone clubs changing hands, probably because the packs run out. So new users, so quite a lot have to buy them from the marketplace. I also saw Ludovic bought an iron one, and the biggest club sale was Crazy Cult, who bought Dijon Bronze. So in terms of, let's say, big moves, club or Legos, it was a bit quiet, but still things happened in terms of trades and splashes. So, Jimbo.
Yeah. So, trade-wise, there was only one sort of standout trade because I was scrolling through. I just saw a purple banner, so I thought that's got to be having involve a legendary in it, and there was. So, Scrub and Bosco. For those of you that don't know, Bosco has held on to George Hogg. He's an 86 rated goalkeeper from England. He's a midget. He's really small, and bless him. And I just like the name Hogg as well, like George Hogg. He did a trade with Scrub. So he gave Scrub an 86 rated, an 84 rated, an 82 rated in exchange for a 72 rated player and one non-MFL NFT, which I have now found out what this actually means.
I was about to ask you.
Yes.
What is it?
Shout out to Vogon. I'm going to read his message. So we've always wondered for weeks, if not months, what the hell is a non-MFL NFT? Obviously, we know what it is because what it says, but actually, let's drill into that. What actually is it? Why is it? He put, "Hello, Jimbo." This is Vogon. "Hello, Jimbo. I can help you solve a puzzle." I was like, "Hello, what's going on here, little riddle?" He goes, "The NFT that Guitarero, or insert any name, always receives is always the same. An NFT from these Genies collection. This can be used when you are familiar with each other and want to use dollars in your Dapper wallet. You buy the NFT from him on Flowverse for an X amount." I don't really understand all this. "This way, you pay only 1% in fees. Afterwards, you trade the purchased NFT on Evaluate for the MFL NFT you want from him. This way, the dollars flow for only 1% fee, which is much cheaper than a direct marketplace sale, especially when it comes to legendary players or platinum clubs that cost over $500. However, it's clear that the buyer really has to trust the seller. So you buy an NFT because it's less fees, and then you trade it."
Okay.
It's confusing, but yeah.
Well, it makes sense. It's a nice innovative way to pay less fees. So I think it's but yeah, it makes sense. So there's when now we see non-MFL NFT, it just means some financial
there's a bit of a bit of money, a bit of wonga going the other way. So maybe that's fueling Bosco's Ukrainian addiction of players or Ukrainian.
Maybe he's going to splash on them soon.
He could do. This time next week, we could be seeing a Bosco splash. But on to Splash of the Week. And as Calva said, there was no Lego sales this week. Or maybe in Denmark, there might have been a few Lego sales and across the world, but no legendary sales within MFL. However, there was a rare player, Francisco Blanco, 83 rated. How much did he sell for, you ask? 490 USD. Spicy Weasel, purchased him from Anarch Forest. It's one of those names that has multiple words in it, or it just has one or two. But a striker or right wing, striker, primary right wing, secondary striker, 92 dribbling, 93 shooting. I think we can see why it was purchased for quite a high price.
Yes.
Not only is it 83 rated, but with the high shooting, I've not done the old Ali Coleman see what a secondary position rating looks like, but chances are it's probably a couple of stats high with 92 shooting. So it's an interesting purchase. I quite like it. It's nice to see some of these high-rated rare players going for what was a couple of months ago, or if not longer, rare player, legendary prices. But this week, like I said, Calvert, no legendary players been sold, but there's been quite a lot of rare players going for over $400 this week.
Yeah, he might actually, I don't know, if we put him MFL player info, turn out to be a legendary striker, right? With that shooting and dribbling together.
Do you know what? Let's find out.
Let's find out.
Because we can just type in his name now, can't we?
We can.
Blanco.
Yeah, so also shout out to Ali Coleman for changing that. So we don't see in the sales bot the player ID, but we do know his name. So
85 rated.
There we go. So
he gains 2 rating.
So
I'm putting him at striker.
He's technically a legendary.
Yes.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But not really. So yeah, this is also hard to. But yeah, that makes it it makes a lot of sense for Spice Weasel to invest in him with that shooting, dribbling, and he's not losing anything playing as a striker and an 85 striker. So very good splash. Makes a lot of sense. Speaking about legendaries and very good players is our own Dirk Klaassen. How was this week? Well, Jimbo, I'll pass the ball to you first. I put some data there for you to look at.
Yes.
What do you think?
So his week in MFL has just one real standout game, which was in the Diamond League against Basel. They won 7-1, so I don't think it was quite difficult for any players to have a high rating in that game when you score 7 goals. Did manage to get 2 assists, which is really nice. Had a 6.6 rating, an 8.9, a 7.5, and a 6.7, which is obviously really Dirk-like, how he just has one really good game and just drops off.
Very Dirk.
So I don't think I could really.
Although it's not a cup game.
Much.
In the cup game, he played the worst.
It's not a cup game.
So...
And what I was looking at with his overall stats so far this season, he has 1 goal this season, which obviously last year he also had 1 goal. So, overall under 1.5 goals for Dirk this year. Is he going to get more than 1 goal or is he going to stay on 1 goal? So...
to be seen, yes.
To be seen. He is currently averaging this season a 7.6. Last season, he averaged 7.7. So as it stands, he's worse this season.
Yes, that's a good conclusion. He's not... and also, I put some attacking stats. And for someone with his skills and quality, and if you play right mid in a 4-2-3-1, you should be getting a bit more XG, a bit more shots on goal. Let's say a bit more dribbles. But he's also not doing that. So he's a bit, could be a bit better there, I think. Dirk.
Yeah.
But we're very critical of him, of course.
Yeah, we're always critical on the podcast. We always want to see the best from him.
Yes, but now as a nice,
incredible.
Let's say, transition to our main topic, will he be a starter for the Dutch squad? What do you think for the Dutch team?
Not in real life. No, he won't be in real life, mate.
In real life, not now. But Dio is a coach, by the way, for sure. Dio will be his coach.
Yeah.
And will he start Dirk?
I believe he's the highest rated player in that Dutch squad. So it's a tough one not to play him. You've got to really justify not playing your highest rated player, your best player in the country, or in the MFL country of Netherlands. So I believe he will start. But whether or not he fits into a nice formation is yet to be seen. That's the thing we're going to get onto topics about in this Euro 24.
Yeah, exactly.
About different squad dynamics, things like that.
Managers have to make tough choices, but knowing Dio and seeing that right mid and the second highest is left mid, there will be enough formations where both of these superstars from the Dutch team will fit. But yeah, let's talk about Euro 24. MFL Euro 24. We might also do some referencing with the actual Euro 24, but let's focus on this amazing tournament. So for the first time in MFL history, we will be able to play with countries, to play a national tournament with national teams. So that's super exciting. I've been talking about this on the pod. I've also dropped this idea suggestions before. I know Botsko was a huge supporter of that too, big fan of that. So let's talk about it. Super excited. So how would you explain this tournament to someone, maybe a layman, or how would you explain?
Explain like I'm 5.
Yeah, exactly.
Or,
how would you
explain like I've just had a mouthful of crayons, or a different way of saying it.
Well, I can shamelessly plug my video where I explain it too. But the way I said it is also you can participate in 2 ways, right? So one is by buying those shares, and then you have a stake in the country, and you'll earn what percentage you have there. Your stake is in it, so that's one way to earn rewards and participate. And with those shares, you can also vote for the national manager, the manager of that country. So the more shares you have, also the bigger the vote is. And you can sway the vote a little bit. So you can also participate. 24 lucky people, lucky MFL users, will get to manage one of those countries. And we are on course to be two of those lucky people. More about it later, what will be our strategy. But yeah, I think so far, I don't know what your vote percentage is. I think we're both 90% or higher, so comfortably
I'm not that high, I don't think. But
in the driver's seat to hopefully become the manager of the country.
I'm 68.9%.
Okay.
Someone please bump that by 0.1 so I can get 69%. Thank you very much.
Okay, but still pretty secure lead there. Pretty secure.
Yeah, 822 votes, which when you translate that into monetary value, that's quite nerve-wracking. That's quite a bit of pressure on the shoulders of myself.
More about that later. But yeah, hopefully we explained how it works. So it's simulating Euro 24 in the metaverse with player NFTs. So you get to call up those, like say Dirk, you can call up Dirk for the Dutch squad. You can call up Bessa from me for the Portuguese squad. I don't think he's going to make it. You could do it if you want. Although my Georgian, the one I packed from the Eurodrop, he's one of the best centre backs for Georgia. So I guess he will play. So that's how it works on this side. You can buy the shares. You can participate by also becoming a coach. And then about those earnings, I think there's quite a lot we can talk about there. Maybe now we enter financial, non-financial advice territory. So this is not financial advice, but we're going to talk about maybe I want to ask you this. How to maximize MFL earnings? Which shares should one buy? Or should you just go for national pride and support your country because like you want them to win and you believe in them? Yeah. So far, I think we see a lot of the latter, the tendency, I reckon. What are your observations?
Yeah, there's a lot of national pride out there, which is great to see. Obviously, myself being English, I've gone down the national pride route, but also I think we've got a good chance at winning it or going far on it as well. You know, you've got Spain's got quite a lot of shares. France, most definitely, I think, is the highest. Portugal's got quite a fair few. Italy as well. You know, the big nations which have a lot of users from there. The pride elements played a part. But obviously, like you mentioned in the former, there is an incentive to maybe do a bit of scouting and a bit of statistical diving into see, well, actually, can I maximize my MFL or dollar MFL coin return by trying to pick a few nations and buy shares in them that might give me a good return. So if I'm looking at the prize pool, you're guaranteed a payout just for being just for that club playing basically in the group stage. So you've already got like a baseline, and I think all of the countries have above that. So it's almost now looking at you get a payout for a group match win and a group match draw. So then we can combine that with the group stage, and you can essentially do a bit of calculation to see what's like the threshold between when you invest a share, do you get just for participating, do you get more money or do you get a decent return by default? Do you get a positive return investment just from buying a share and doing nothing is basically what I'm trying to say here.
The guaranteed payout.
Yeah.
So that's, but it is I think a bit confusing for many people because of these. It keeps changing, right? You cannot calculate it easy, and then someone comes in and buys 50 more shares. Everything changes again.
You think you can calculate it because you can calculate how many shares a country needs to become like EV, if that makes sense. So I think I'm doing these calculations right. For example, if a team goes into the group stage and then wins all 3 games, if the nation has under 495 shares, every single one of those has made a profit.
Okay.
And everyone is, So for example, I have 100 England shares. For me to even come out of profit, I need to get runners up. England need to get runners up. So there's a bit of pressure there. But this is a thing where it's, are you just doing it for the pride and just for the enjoyment point of view, or are you actually trying to maximize gains? I think we're probably going to see quite a few people towards the end of the share purchasing deadline try and sneak in a few votes, because there are a couple of nations which, from real life perspective aren't maybe that great, but in MFL could be dark horses and actually get to like a round of 16, which could be quite an impressive sort of payout, especially if it's a team that hasn't got many shares in it. So
yeah, but I like you have this
interesting one.
skin in the game, right? As they say, like you put just 100 shares behind England, and obviously England has so many that also that is a bit like a less percentage, right? Your stake is a bit overall less. So there is this balance, like how well do you think the team will do, plus how many shares have been sold. So if you have a relatively okay team with like maybe 200, 300 shares, you can easily be profitable or break even easily from just the group stage and maybe one draw or one win. While with other major nations and you have a very low stake, that's very hard. As you said, runner up, right? So that is like so but also the national pride, like the cool thing is that MFL also rewards nations. Perks unlock when you reach certain limits. So then you have the national anthem, right? And you had the national field, national stadium, and extra squad sizes. Maybe the raffle. I don't know if you have the raffle yet of England, like this.
No, we don't have the raffle. That's 2,000. I think France the only one. So
Germany
far,
also. I think Germany got a big push.
Germany got it?
And Germany has a very strong team with loads of legendaries.
We can talk about some of our predictions in a bit, can't we? About
but so about maximizing earnings, I guess the non-financial advice is do a bit of your own calculation research. See which team has pretty relatively low amount of shares sold, but could have a pretty good run. One of my tactics is to buy shares of all teams in one group, of a group where there's not too many shares sold. So that's been my tactic.
Oh, okay.
So I think there's this one group of Belgium, Slovakia. Maybe now everyone's going to buy this, but there's like Belgium, Slovakia, Romania. I think I just bought like 10, and it's still an okay stake to have. And then for sure, someone goes to the round 16, and for sure, some of them will win. So maybe that could be a tactic. But I agree. I do expect a huge changes just before the deadline, because you could sneaky get quite some big percentage of
MFL folk are clever. MFL users are clever, and they know
data.
What's the most I don't want to say F advice. I don't want to try and make anything that sounds like it's giving, because it's not. It's definitely not financial advice.
No, it's definitely not.
But the MFL users, all out there, are very clever and have already, identified potentially undervalued nations. So we could see those valuation in terms of your return. So we're probably going to see those change just before deadline. I agree.
Yeah, I think in both fields, so there's two kind of dynamics going on, right? This share, and then how much is your share worth? How much is your ROI potentially on that share? So I think there will be a huge push just before the deadline, because you can kind of surprise other managers who will relatively lose some stake, some percentage share, let's say, in that. Plus with the voting, like you could technically, with some smaller countries, put $100 in it, hijack the vote for yourself, and even take the lead, I think. So just before the deadline, you could do that, I think. Like you could then sway it in such a way that forces other people to maybe react. So I think that could be a dynamic that can be still upsetting. There's also loads of campaigns, right? That's some new challenges. So
I've said that I'll do a campaign video for mine. I'm not sure I have the time to, because I'm going to Romania for 4 days. But my plan is, and I've started doing it already, I'm making some GIFs of myself celebrating and reacting, so people can use it in the chat when we go through and we win or we lose or we score. So I'm going to try and do that. It's just a bit of content people can use on Twitter and stuff of just England bollocks. But the video was harder than I thought it was to make in 2 or 3 days.
I'm really excited for this. Well, let's move on. We put this as point number 4. Like, how will we lead our national teams? So one thing that includes leading a national team is some video, maybe some social media presence, some GIFs from you, definitely.
Yeah, I want to try and give something back because, you know, I'm very grateful. Well, obviously nothing's confirmed yet, but very grateful and honoured to be the England manager. I'll do it. I'll do. Maybe it's a one-time wonder. I'll do it once, then I will never do it again. Just to have the pride and the. I did also ask in the captain's chat. You may have seen Cal, but also I did ask. I said, "Will there be a trophy for managers who took charge of nations?" I put asking for a mate, asking for myself, and Yaks put yes.
Yeah, tell your friends yes.
So there will be tell your friend yes. So for those of you who are managing nations, you will get a little trophy. So I'm told, just say that you were the manager of that nation, which I think is quite cool. It will
be a very unique, prestigious trophy, I think. But yeah, I'm also planning for Polish national team to definitely do some social media, some canvas, maybe announcing the squad or definitely some match results. I don't know if we can generate them, but there's like the Polish national team also has a very good social media presence, so I might kind of steal their style and copy that a little bit to maybe even make a Twitter account like MFL Polska.
I was thinking that, I was thinking that, but yeah, if because the games might happen a couple of hours after the actual games, and I will probably be at a friend's house on Sunday to watch the England game. I'm thinking if I can get back and stream for 20 minutes, me in a suit watching the game. But I just don't know if I'll be too heavily drunk or drinking. But I also got work the next day. I don't even know what the plans are for that, but no guarantee. But I might drop a 15, 20-minute stream of watching the game.
So there's about the PR, let's say the communication. What about selecting your squad? How will you do that? Any thoughts already?
I'll just pick the best players, mate. That's what I'm going to do. Pick the best players. I'm quite fortunate that England, the best players in the England squad, all fit together in a formation nicely.
That's great.
I think that's one of the hardest challenges, is that a lot of nations, let's just pick Denmark, for example, a nation which has 3 really good players, but he has Tyson, a 92 or 91 rated left wing, but they have no decent right wing. So it's like, do you just drop him into left mid and take the hit slightly for him? Or do you, it's like those sort of questions. What do you really do with that? So I'm quite fortunate that England has. I'm not giving anything away here. No chance, because I've already done all my preparation for hopefully if I become England manager. I don't want to. I've got to say that because it's not given yet. I don't want to jinx it. But I've done all my research and all the different. You can't
wow!
I've got research on
clipboard.
All the different nations. Who's the leading front runner for the managers? Researched them as managers. Researched I've got all like predictive formations, but the predictive formation only really matters for the first game, because after that you can just see what the other teams played at for the second and third match. But I've done a bit of. I've got my whole squad set out. It's just the best players near enough. I think I've got about 23 players. I think. I know what formation I'm going to play. I would love to reveal it to you, Cal, but I just cannot. I just cannot reveal my formation to you.
You didn't talk about it in the chat or like in the public?
No, because that chat is still accessible to everyone who has shares.
Yes. Yeah.
Once it gets locked down, that's when the real tactics happen.
Well, we did with Poland discuss quite some tactics in there, so I don't know if people. Well, we keep it pretty. We have a problem that there's 2 very strong right midfielders, one cam. We have mostly CM, CDM. We have this super crazy good left winger, Maciejewski, 93 rated, so he's like the superstar. So he should start, but then with a left winger, and we had like a left back problem. So you got to make a choice and sacrifice at least 1 or 2 Legos who should be starting. But they can't start all. So I think we're down in between 2 big formations. I can just say 4-3-3, 3-4-3, like those 2. Probably maybe 4-2-3-1. But yeah, we can never ever
and the other 16.
But we can never ever play, let's say, all our highest. We have to sacrifice a right mid or a cam.
That's what's tough. That's tough.
And
Man.
they are both, I think, 88, 89. So then you leave them on the bench. So we feel like a real national manager, right? Like these superstars who cannot really play together, and then you have to bench one of them. So but the good thing is I also have some great assistant managers, I call them, who are helping me and done already a lot of research. So it's nice that people who voted or invested, and then you can kind of democratically decide what the team will gonna be. But yeah, more will happen in the final chats when they're locked and when you really know those people are most heavily invested.
Just from your initial looking at your squad or potential squad and the people in the chat helping in their research, what are your thoughts on how you will finish in your group?
But this is the problem. We are also in a tough group with Netherlands, France, so two other major nations, then Poland. Real life Poland will never ever get out of this group, but this Poland is pretty decent. I heard somewhere from an undisclosed source that we're 6 on average of all the nations.
Really? I think England's maybe 3rd or 4th. I don't think we're the top.
I think Germany's, Netherlands and France are both in this top 6 too. So there's like 3 top 6 countries in one group. So that's really the group of death, and then with Austria, poor Austria.
Poor Austria.
So, but also those averages are pretty close to each other, so it can really go either way. There can be upsets in this too. It will be a bit of a lottery, I reckon, but we definitely have a very competitive squad who could get far in the tournament if everything goes well, and nothing unlucky. I think we can do very well. So positive about our chances.
In terms of predictions, then I think this is the next one I wanted to talk about. In terms of prediction, who's going to win the real life Euros? Who's going to win the actual Euros? And who do you think will win
MFL
Euros?
So I think,
who do you think will win either one?
Well, in this video I did where I did the MFL predictor, please fill out your MFL predictor if you have not done so.
Yes.
Great prizes and fun to do this bracket, but I put France there because France, they have a very good squad and they have experience with playing in finals, right? They've been in quite some finals in the past, World Cups and European Championships, plus they just have a crazy good squad. I think also I put them in England semis. I think England will also get very far in the real tournament. And on the other side of the bracket, I had I think Portugal and Spain. I think Portugal could potentially go far. The Netherlands also, but I'm always a bit pessimistic as a Dutch citizen about I don't have a lot of trust in Koeman. So then if I look at the MFL squad, I think Germany has a very good squad. Maybe one of the best. So I think they have a very good chance in terms of squads. And I think Sturridge is also going to be a manager there, who is very, very serious about things. So they have a big chance. I think Netherlands, very good team with DO2. Portugal MFL also is very strong. I think Eric Barbaric wants to be coached there. Poland, England, of course. I think we are way better. Poland is way better here than in real life. So I do, with that 6 overall, give us a shot. But I think Germany, maybe in MFL, and real life France. That's my prediction. What about you?
The patriotic side to me says England double.
The double. Yeah, can you win the double?
England double. I agree with you for the MFL Euros that Germany, I think statistically, is probably the strongest side. I think that England, obviously, hopefully going to be leading England. I think we can do very well. I think there's a lot of pressure on my shoulders, which I'm going to try and shift off and push somewhere else. I think once the first game's out of the way and hopefully we beat Serbia, then that will release all the nerves. But in terms of real life, I would have said England as well, which I just did. But then also we had some stinky friendlies, losing 1-0 to Iceland.
Iceland
I thought,
was not
bloody
the
hell.
best.
Yeah, and the thing is though, like the teams that we were playing were still really strong, but still lacked like what the final squad's going to actually look like. So, but we have the thing is, I think what's quite nice is it happens every tournament is that England gets really lucky with the groups they're in. And it almost, you have the friendlies to give you a little bit of warm up, but our warm up usually is actually the group stage. It gets us rolling and gets us through the motions. And because we've got quite a nice group stage, I'm hoping that if we win that, we then also have maybe 1 or 2 other nice games until I think we hit a France in the semi-final.
That would be tough.
I think whoever wins that, if it is France, England semi-final, wins the Euros, basically. I think it's our side of the bracket. I say our. England, France,
I
goes
do
and wins
agree with that, definitely. That this side
I think
will win.
Spain are a really good side. They're just a bit too early. Mm-hmm. They're like a tournament too early, I think. Yeah. With their young players, they're not really... Yeah. They're a bit fragile.
And England's team is much better than last time, I think, with Bellingham, Foden.
I think this is our season. This is our year to win something. Kane was near enough on his... He's not on his last legs. He's nowhere near, but it's his last like full leg tournament, I think.
So this is the chance.
And then Bellingham, Rice, Saka, Foden, they've had unbelievable seasons. We just, I often use when you look at our squad, it's a bit like a guy goes to the gym and never trains legs. All they train is upper body. We've got a really good upper end of the upper side of the pitch. Yeah, midfield and attack. Look at the foundation. Look at that defence. Woohoo, bit shaky. It's one of those.
And then you have like an Mbappe against that. So...
Oh yeah, that meme, that gif of him laughing when Kane missed a penalty will haunt me forever. And it always gets brought up, which is why my campaign slogan is called Unfinished Business.
It's coming home in the metaverse and in real life. That's what you're saying. It's just...
Yes, no, we'll go to that. Yep, England dub.
Double.
England double dub.
Let's see what it will be. My final point to discuss is the future of MFL national games, national tournaments. So I think there's been a huge reaction to this and that people would like to see more of that. I actually found out there's also the Copa America. So we could have had double 2 tournaments technically, but this is like the test run, I guess, to see how it goes with the biggest countries, most countries here. So what do you reckon? What could we do? Speculate a little bit. I do. Before we get started into this chat, it is worth mentioning that there is a question that says, "Is this a recurring event?" And they've quite, I feel like in my mind, not shut it down, but they've put no. This is a one-time event that does not constitute a new feature, nor does it mean future international MFL competitions will follow these rules or format. It maybe sounds like they may not do this within MFL, maybe just for like tournaments, but it doesn't sound like they're against international sort of feature in general. And it's tough how you would say like do the manager voting, for example. I think that's a tough one because maybe it's a thing where you can only be a manager once, or you can't be a manager back to back, for example, or something like that. Or you can have terms. We'll call it presidential. We know you love your politics. We'll call it terms. I do really like this system. I think it's really, really cool. There's a lot of people excited. A lot of people who are like, I don't know about the Euros. I'm looking it up. It's really exciting. Or I haven't been at MFL for a couple of weeks. I've now come back to it and this is happening. It's really exciting. It's something extra to get buzzed about. But honestly, mate, to answer your question, I ain't got this clue what this looks like for the future and how this. Well, hopefully, like the metaverse, we want to kind of imitate kind of the real football experience, football management, football experience in real life. Obviously, this is a big part of real life football, so also of metaverse football. So hopefully, it will come back in some shape or form. Yeah, there are some like advantages, disadvantages of this system, but this is a nice test run. Then let's see, do we keep the same format? I've pitched before about country NFTs that are just tradable when you own it, or maybe that pass on and you can only own them for a season and then they get, I don't know, auctioned off or passed on. But in some form, I also don't want to make it about money, that it's more about quality and an honor and that you get picked. But I do,
Yeah.
the one thing is that I want it to be a part of MFL in the future. And hopefully this is one way we can do it. Let's see how it goes. And then maybe there will be another tournament in the future, maybe like World Cup or some, I don't know, Asia Cup, Copa America, something, and let's see how it goes.
What would happen then? I can propose a very quick idea that no one becomes a manager, but it auto picks from your players based on their performances. A bit like Football Manager does it. If you're not if you're not a manager of a country, a Football Manager,
will randomly do it.
The AI does it for you.
No, that's also okay.
Because I guess part of it, we didn't even mention it. Actually, the prize pool split is 90% shares, 10% player agents. One thing to consider: if you are a manager, you don't get paid out for your players.
Whether it's an AI or not, it's also just about honor and fun and like, oh yeah, my guy is also part of the national team and he has some caps, and like on the player profile you see caps and goals, and that already gives such a nice addition to the universe, to the metaverse. So whether your players get picked by AI or whether it's AI random coaches, just the fact there is international football and that your players can have a bit more glory and prestige and cups and trophies. That is already amazing. So let's keep it.
No, I'm really. Yeah, definitely. I'm excited about how this is going to pan out. I'm nervous for England. I'm nervous for myself, but I'm really excited to the Euros in general, but also the MFL Euros. This is a really sick feature, and like you said right at the beginning, it's been out for 4 or 5 days now, but it feels like it's been out for at least 2 weeks already.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just how much information and how much you've had. You've been in amongst it.
Pretty intensive also with the campaigning that went on and the kind of lobbying behind the scenes for votes, with a lot of DMs being sent to everyone. I was talking to some people and they also felt like there's now a bit of tension in the community too. Like some people are like campaigning against each other and they try to sway their votes in their favor. So sometimes it also feels bad, right? If you, let's say, have Slovakia and you are Slovakian, and then you feel like, oh, I'm a good candidate, I'm Slovakian, and then someone comes in, buys a big bag and votes for themselves. And then that also for those managers also doesn't feel right, but they technically have the right, but morally it feels a bit. So that's another dynamic that's also here.
But and at the end of the day, at the end of the day, if you've not bought like 1,000 shares and voted for yourself, and you maybe have like 5% of the shares, but you're still the majority runner for the manager, then you've done a good job and you deserve it because other people have voted for you.
True.
So, but
good thing is like it's only a tournament and you can get sacked, right? You just have a 1 tournament term, and let's see how far you can go.
It could damage people's reputation if they've done really well or really badly, and then vice versa.
Let's do it. So just when plus the country you think is going to win the MFL Euro, not the real Euro. Fill out the predictor for that. So I think we've said most of it, and we're going to come back to this topic loads of times in the cup. And it's going to run for a month, right? So in the coming weeks, all the episodes, there will probably some talk about matches.
Some Euro run up. Yeah.
Yes.
So, obviously, like Cava said, hashtag when the country you think will win the MFL Euros. A huge thank you to all of you who took part in that giveaway last week, who jumped on the stream and supported in that sense. Great numbers again. If you haven't already liked, reviewed, shared, all that grand stuff when it comes to the podcast, please go and do that. We've had some unreal numbers, and we are continuing to have unreal numbers over the last 2 months, which is absolutely unbelievable. Love it from all of you. Thank you all so much. And as I always say, without further ado, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you this time next week for an episode of the Wendout Cast. Thank you for listening.